Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to the show, the new and improved show of 2022. Okay, we didn't make any improvements, but it is the first show in 2022. I hope you had a happy new year. Chanel's with us. Hello, Chanel.
Hi, Chanel.
How are you doing? Hope this is a better new year, a better year for all of us, right? Well, we're excited to have another year start and start off fresh and see what can happen. I hope all of you had a good time. George says present and accounted for. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, George.
Happy New Year, George.
Great to see you as usual. Chanel says, me and my son have COVID-19.
Oh, no.
You do not.
Bummer.
Oh, how are you doing though? How are you feeling with it? A lot of people say it's, pretty mild. I hope it didn't hit you harder considering everything else you're going through. Wow.
That's terrible news.
It is. Hey, James Rickard's in the house.
Hey, James.
Hi, folks. Sorry I'm a little late. Not very late.
Haven't missed a
just
thing.
Saying welcome to the new improved version of 2022, but it isn't.
So far, it's not proving to be, is it?
No.
Well, a couple things to look forward to. One is the Rochester Winter Parafest coming up March 25th, 26th, 27th for those folks in upstate New York, Pennsylvania area up there. Great place to go to support a Veterans Outreach fundraiser. And you'd want to go to rochesterparafest.org for information on that. And then episode rewind, 5:30 Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. This coming Saturday, we're going to show episode 6 again, which is authors Linda Watkins and Cynthia Wolfe. That was a real good one. Mm-hmm. So don't miss that. Show up. We won't be there, but enjoy. You can still make comments. We'll get back with you later. Do you have anything you want to?
I just wanted to bring up Chanel. She said, mild so far, coughing, and my son has cough and a running nose.
Okay.
Chanel and her son have COVID for those of you that joined a little bit late. So I'm glad that that's all that it is, but sorry that you have it at all.
I did want to mention some of the folks that are maybe watching on LinkedIn, some of them on Facebook, and wherever you are. If you're not seeing your comments coming up, or if we're not answering or seeing them, some of them we won't see. But you can go ahead and comment. We can address those later. I'll go back and look. Yeah,
for some reason they don't all come up. The Facebook ones all come up. The YouTube ones usually come up.
Right.
But so we're not ignoring you.
No,
it's just that we're not seeing the comments.
We will not do that. Okay, so without much ado,
yes,
mystery and suspense author Marjorie Daring is with us, live from the Winter State, and we're going to bring her in now.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, we're going to bring her in now. There she is.
Hi, everyone.
I'm sorry, Marjorie. That was me.
I thought, well, at least I didn't do something.
We couldn't find you.
Here I am.
There you are.
Improved. Okay, Chanel says no cancer treatments until it's gone. So looking at another 2 weeks without.
Oh.
Well,
feel better,
I guess
Chanel.
that's good. Hi, Susan Kites in the house.
Susan.
Hello, Susan. Glad that you're in the audience. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Yeah, Chanel, I don't know if that's good or bad. No cancer treatments for 2 weeks, but I think sometimes with friends of mine that have had cancer treatments, enjoy the break. So I would say enjoy the break. Okay, sorry. So how are you doing, Marjorie?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
That's good. That's good. You have a winter weather watch, you were saying, so with
Yes,
high winds and
high
5 to 6
winds and
inches of snow
snow, and
possible. So
yeah,
if we
possible
lose
whiteout.
you, yeah, that's the reason I'm bringing it up, so that
Hmm.
in case we lose you during this, we'll try to get at least a verbal, an audio going.
Right.
But
Well, I hope we don't have that problem.
Oh, I do
yes,
too.
me too.
We've had enough of that.
Right.
As long as it isn't snowing inside the house, you'll be fine.
No, not so far.
That would be very bad.
That would be bad. Yes.
Wouldn't like that.
So, how about if you tell us, Marjorie, what got you started in writing, and when you started in writing?
Okay, well, I started writing probably when I was in the single digits, and I think the reason I probably did do that was because of the unusual backdrop for my growing up. As it says in my author page, I do come from a golfing background. My father, my brother, my younger sister, 2 uncles, and 2 cousins are or were all PGA and LPGA golf professionals. And that
Wow.
all
Wow.
started with my dad. When I was just 10 months old, he moved our family from Milwaukee to little tiny Waterford with 1,000 people population at the time. And we moved to the golf course that he bought. It was an 18-hole semi-private course, Rivermore Country Club. And we lived there all of my life and my kid's sister too. I mean, we just stayed there. And I realized that when I say that my father bought a country club, I imagine a lot of people might be thinking, oh, silver spoon in the mouth, lots of money in the family.
That's
No,
what
it
we were
was,
thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing
No.
like that at all. Let me tell you a little bit about this. My dad grew up, he was a Golden Gloves boxer, then a Golden Gloves
Wow.
trainer. So he was athletic. And after that, let's see, he got his love of golfing, I think, from caddying at, I think it was Tuckaway Country Club in Milwaukee. And that's where he learned to love golf. And he worked in a factory, Kearney Trekker, I think it was, in Milwaukee. And he managed to save up money until he could buy a piece of land or lease a piece of land, I'm not sure which, in Milwaukee. And he turned it into a driving range.
Wow. Cool.
And at that point, sometime later, he found a partner, and they bought the club together. Now, the partner was the money man. My father was, the other fellow was a silent partner, but my father did everything. I mean, everything. He ran the kitchen, he ran the bar, he took care of the pro shop. He was the greenskeeper, he was a bartender. He was the hardest working man I ever knew.
He did everything, it sounds like.
He
Huh?
did it all. But like I say, it's not that we were wealthy, we weren't, but he had a head for business and an entrepreneurial spirit, and he loved golf, and this is what came of it. Got to get a drink.
While you're getting the drink, Chanel says, same weather here, Marjorie. And then she lets you know she's in Wisconsin, which we knew.
Well, there you go.
And Jack says, Happy New Year. Jack Craig is from
Happy New Year.
Australia.
From the other end of the world.
Wow. Yes,
It's
right.
morning there.
Oh, wonder what time of the morning.
And it's 9.
About
something,
9 or 10,
right,
something like
Jack?
that. 9 something.
And also
Yeah.
he's in summer.
And it's hot there, so he's got
No
like
snow in his yard. No.
no, he's melting.
No.
Okay, so anyway, as I was
ahead.
saying, though, we moved to the golf course, and I never grew up in a normal house. I never went skating with friends because not only did we not have sidewalks, I didn't have friends. There was farmland all around the golf course, and there was no subdivision or anything like there was later on. So what I started to say, see, I'm losing my train of thought. My train only runs on the track sometimes. When we moved to the golf course, It was a beautiful building. It was a big, long, white stucco building with the red Spanish tiles, and we lived at one end of the clubhouse. And that one end of the clubhouse, we're talking about like 600, 700 square feet for our entire family, and it was one room.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
like I say, no silver spoon, no
Yeah.
fancy, no glamour, nothing like this. And I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I loved it. I absolutely loved doing this. The members were terrific people. I remember in the early years, we'd be sitting at the breakfast table having breakfast, and the members and other golfers would be walking on the path to the first tee, and they'd be waving in our window going, "Hi, Mary. Hi, Dick. Hi, kids."
Look at this. Look at what Chanel said. My stepdad golfed there.
Ah, how
He
neat.
loves golf.
Neat.
That is so cool.
What a small
Yes.
world.
It is small
Yes,
world.
it really
Yeah,
is.
after
That's
all.
crazy.
Yeah, that is great.
Isn't that nice to know?
That tickles me. Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But
I
anyhow, the lack of privacy drove my mother crazy, and I think partly that's why I am what I consider an introverted extrovert. I love having people around me. I'm very friendly, but I don't feel a great need to interact. I'm just happy having people around, because my dad would always say, "Don't bother the members." He'd tell all of us kids, "Don't bother the members." And the members were terrific. And my kid's sister, I remember her when she was like 4 years old. The members loved her. And I remember my
Indeed.
sister telling one of them, her favorite, she's, "My daddy says I can't ask you to buy me candy and soda anymore, but you can if you want to."
Spoken like a true 4-year-old.
There you go.
Right.
Genevieve says,
Hi,
hello, my
Genevieve.
friends. Happy New Year. Happy
Hope
Happy
you're
New
not-
Year.
You're in New Jersey. Did you get a lot of snow where you're at?
And we love you, Genevieve. Miss you.
Go ahead, Marjorie.
Well, anyhow, I don't know. Basically, it's just that I think I turned to writing because I didn't have a lot of friends or anything like this.
Oh,
My
yeah.
idea of a good time was jumping in the Jeep with my dad at the end of the day in the evening and going with him when he would go all over the golf course, setting up the sprinklers before he put in a, underground automatic watering system years later. But I would ride with him in the Jeep, and I'd open up the hatches where the faucets were, and I'd look for chameleons and lizards and whatever else I could
That's
find in
cool.
there. Or he'd be out there changing the cups on the greens. But that was my idea of fun. I enjoyed doing that. So
So
anyhow,
Genevieve
I think
says-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Genevieve says, love you guys too. No snow by me, thankfully, because we heard New Jersey got a ton
Right.
of snow. So,
Yeah,
Right.
that's
but
good.
she's really close to the water. Anyway, go ahead,
Mhm.
finish.
But anyhow, I started writing then, and my mother encouraged me. She really enjoyed that I was writing, and she was my support system even back then. She's been dead for almost 50 years now, unfortunately. She was a terrific woman. She was warm and caring and smart, but she had a big, wide Gracie Ellen streak about her.
Oh, did she?
She did. I've got
Good
to
night,
tell you.
Gracie. Good night,
Oh,
Gracie.
yes, she was so funny. My dad was the storyteller in the family, and he could tell jokes and entertain people all day long. My mother couldn't tell a joke to save her life. Before some party or whatever at the club that she was going to, she would pick out a joke and actually study it and practice telling it, and then go and she'd flub the punchline every time, and it made it funnier than the joke was.
I think you might be my sister. My mother did the same thing.
Yeah.
She could
Did
never
she
get the
really?
punchline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She'd
my mother
work
never
all the
did.
way up to it, and she'd get to it
And-
and go, crickets.
They were from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So George says, so what do you pull from your stories?
from 4-year stories.
What do you
I
pull
don't-
from 4-year stories?
I
Is it-
don't know. I
Okay.
like watching mysteries. I can't solve them. If you put a mystery book in front of me or a mystery movie, I can't solve the crime. But I think I'd make a better crook than a detective because I can write a mystery. Obviously, I better be
So
able to if I wrote
you
7 of them already.
you
But
can think up nefarious things to
yeah,
do, but
this is why I liked Columbo, because it wasn't trying to solve it, it was trying to figure out how he was going to solve the crime. You already knew how it was done,
yeah,
and
you
that's what
already knew
works
who
for
it
me.
was. Oh,
Um,
huh.
but
That's
there was a particular person that I had in mind for Ray Schiller in all of my books, and I will
okay.
never say who it is because I
All
like to
right.
let people figure, they have their own visualization of Ray Schiller. I mean, you can give the same people the
That's
same
right.
description, and
Yep.
everybody sees it a little differently,
You're
and I don't
absolutely
want to
right.
change their minds.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
So
Okay.
this is the first book that we're talking about with
Mhm.
Ray, and it's Deer Crossing for those of you who
Right.
aren't watching
That's book
but are
1.
listening.
And
That's
it's
a great.
spelled DEAR, which was one of the first mistakes I made when I was writing this book, because you're not supposed to use homonyms. It was perfect. Deer Crossing was perfect for my story, but I still think there are a lot of people who think I just don't know how to spell DEER.
I got it right away.
That's pretty
Did
silly,
you?
isn't
Oh,
it?
Yes.
good.
Of course, you meant deer. All right.
Yes.
Chanel wants to know, who's your favorite writers, Marjorie?
Oh, I have several. I like Hemingway, and
Me too.
that's a classic, of course, but I
Yeah.
also like Stephen King and Dean Koontz.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I read Peter Benchley's Jaws after I
Yeah.
watched the movie, and I thought,
Yeah.
of everybody that I've ever read, I write most like him. He has the same type of narrative style versus dialogue style and so forth.
Uh-huh.
He's not my favorite writer, but
That's funny.
yeah, I do enjoy those people and others too, but I don't have any
James
particular favorite.
James Rickard says, Deer, DEAR, would pull me in.
Well,
And it
I
did me
think
too,
that's
James.
I think that's true because
it's
you
like,
want to find
oh,
out why is it spelled that way, you know?
which
Mhm.
deer in the book is it?
Yeah, yeah. Which
Well, I
crossing
was
is it?
very afraid people were going to think I was talking about, oh, it's a deer crossing. Well, that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it was I have a problem. I would rather write an entire novel than have to come up with a title. I am terrible at titles.
I don't know. You've
Most of the
got some
time,
good titles.
well, I'm glad you think so, but I was never satisfied with most of the others. And
Oh,
I
really?
didn't come up with the titles until after the book was finished. It was like, well, now you have to make up your mind. What are you going to call it?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, like James said, the DER would have pulled him in, and that's the
Mhm.
thing that intrigued me
Yeah,
the most,
yeah.
too. Okay,
Oh,
so
well,
why is
good.
it Deer Crossing?
That's
Is
the
the
first
deer
that's the
been
first mystery
crossed,
right
and
there.
who is the deer? I mean, I want to know. So
Well,
that's
that's
a good thing.
great. Yes,
Yeah,
because I was using deer in the sense of a personal
of
affection.
a deer person.
Right, a
Yeah,
deer person
like
crossing
a
these
sweetheart
deer
or
people. Yes, right.
a lovey. And then
And
we
there was a
have
lot of that in there.
Shadow Tag is
Mhm.
your next one that came after Deer Crossing.
Right.
And
Shadow Tag. Yeah, go ahead.
these are all in the Ray Schiller.
Yes, all 7 of these books are Ray Schiller's. Yes, Ray Schiller novels.
Okay, so go ahead. What about Shadow Tag?
Well, I was going to say I took a little flack on that from a few reviewers because they said that I let the first book unresolved
Oh,
as a segue into Shadow Tag, but I had to take exception to that because I didn't really. The murder that happens at the beginning of the book is resolved, but there is another death at the end that is a segue into Shadow Tag.
Ah, okay.
But I guess
James-
that's a fine thing. I don't know if it's
James says we're
Fine
just extra smart. Those of us that got Deer Crossing and said,
I'll give you credit
Right.
for that.
There
which
you go.
means that Marjorie's extra smart for writing it that way.
There you go.
Oh,
Okay,
thank
so-
you.
You're welcome. So they didn't like the idea that you had an unsolved murder at the end of your book,
Like a cliffhanger, right?
but it was a cliffhanger.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I did solve the original mystery,
Yeah.
and the death at the end it was right there at the end. I mean, it wasn't a big part of the story, so I didn't feel guilty about that at all.
Good.
So at
Good.
the beginning of Shadow Tag, boom, you're right back where you left off at the end of Deer Crossing.
Right. And Suzanne says, you can't please everyone.
Boy, that's for
Suzanne,
sure.
you're
No,
so-
you
Hi,
sure
Suzanne.
can't.
Glad to have you in the audience, Suzanne, and your comments. We love everybody to comment. That's you know what? That's so true what Suzanne just said. You can't please everybody.
No, you can't.
And you have to write what you feel and what you think, and you have to write the way that you write, you know?
Right. I was happy with it. I didn't feel guilty at all about that. And like
Well,
I say,
good.
it was just one or two comments, but yeah, I didn't feel like I shortchanged anybody or tricked anybody into reading the next one. But
No, but it sounds like you're being targeted.
very good, Rob.
Right.
Which is the next book?
Segue.
Segue, you said it. Right. This was an exciting one. This was a lot of suspense. There is a murder. It begins off with a murder. I will tell you, I love the idea that struck me at the beginning of this. Ray is called to a murder investigation and finds out that the prime suspect is somebody he knew in his past, a young, beautiful woman from his past. And of course, he can't handle the investigation because of conflict of interest, but he can't keep his nose out of it either. So his partner is the one who's actually handling the case. And Ray gets involved in his own way and ends up paying a price for it. It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Okay, that's
Sounds
really
like it.
good. Sounds like a good movie.
It does.
Oh, there's the thought.
Just saying.
Know any movie producers?
Well, yeah.
Well, we do.
I bet you do.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a start.
Oh, we've got another comment. Let me pull that up. See.
Oh, Trish
Trish
made it.
Pipkins did
Trish,
make it.
hi.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
I was just thinking Trish should be here because this is right up her alley, I think. I think she'd really like these books.
Mhm.
Well, I'm glad she made it.
Yeah, me too. You should read all the comments, Trish, and catch up with what everybody has said.
So what's our next book that we need to talk about after Targeted?
Okay. Well, let
Let's
me get
see.
back to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Next is A Web of Silence.
Hmm.
No, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, Web of Silence. Oh no, here comes our cat.
Oh,
That's
okay.
okay. It's a cat. It's not a lady screaming, people.
No, it's not. He's telling me I should feed him. I already did, but he hasn't checked his bowl yet.
Go check your bowl.
In any case, yes, this is one. I've got to tell you, actually, with all of these stories, Ray isn't just a detective. He is a father, he is a husband, and he messes up just like everybody else, which is part of his appeal. And he, oh, I should have told you this earlier, but anyway, I'll go on. His wife did have a brief affair that you learn about in Deer Crossing.
Oh.
And it resulted in, well, never mind. I'm not going to say anything more about that. But anyhow, Ray has this in the back of his mind in his history. And when people frequently are quiet, they don't want to talk to the police about this or that or the other thing. But it's when his partner, Dick Waverly, starts shutting down and not talking to him that he really starts to worry. Something's wrong and he's not telling me what it is. And something's going on with his wife and she's not saying what it is. And it's about a lot of his doubts coming through. It's my daughter-in-law's favorite book.
That's
She
cool.
liked that element of it. But like I say, it's not always just about the investigation. A lot of it involves Ray and just Ray the man, which is something I don't see often enough in other detective books.
Right.
Suzanne says cats and mysteries go perfectly together.
Well, it's a mystery to me while he keeps meowing all the time.
And Susan Kite said the covers are really terrific, and I think that it is. Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
And Trish says it's a very cool cover. And George says, and I'm going to take a big guess here. He said, an affair. Was her name Deborah?
No.
Wife number 3?
Number 3, George. Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Yeah, that's true. I think I like that, to know who the man is and what's going on in his
Yes, I
life.
mean,
and
Ray
see him as a
isn't.
whole person.
Yeah, Ray is not James Bond. He's not Superman. He's just a man like every other man, and he's very good at his job, but he doesn't always pull off all three of his, he doesn't pull off husband, wife, detective perfectly, and I think that's part of his appeal.
Yeah. And it's part of life, isn't it? Before we get much further, let me bring up some of your.
I was going to say, why don't we take our commercial break and do that when we come back?
Take our commercial break? All right, we can do that.
And launch the book giveaway when we get back.
Okay.
Everyone stay tuned. We're going to take a little break.
A short commercial break.
Short commercial break. And
stay tuned.
When we get back, we're going to discuss the rest of her books and do our book giveaway.
And I'm going to let you know where to reach her.
Answer and give you all the contact information you're going to need.
Right.
Okay. So here we go. Bye.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
In a world where advancing technology is outpacing crime solving, the O'Rourke team continues their relentless pursuit of justice. Bioprints is the first book in the O'Rourke crime novel series where it's high-tech crime versus old-fashioned detective work. Visit carternovels.com or amazon.com and check out Bioprints today.
Hello. We have
back.
a few comments here. So we said if, Deborah was the third wife, George says, yep. And then he says, AKA the Fleetwood connection. And then Jenny, hi, Jenny. Welcome to the show. She said, I love the commercial. Great job, George Dismukes. It is very good, Jenny. We love it.
Okay. How about the book giveaway? And then you can go over the...
All right. You can do the book giveaway, and then I'll go over all of her.
So everyone's been anxiously awaiting this one, I'm sure. Here we go. The book giveaway. The first 5 people to email marjoriedaring99@gmail.com will win an ebook copy of choice. Any one of these wonderful books we're talking about here today.
Yeah. And you can go on Indie Booksource to her page.
Right.
On Indie Booksource, and you can see them all. Of course, you can go and look on her Amazon page also.
Right.
But she does not have a website. So that's why I said go to Indie Bookstore.
Right. Shame on me.
That's what you have us for, right?
It's not a requirement.
No.
To be a good author.
So her Facebook page, though, is marjorie.daring. And that is spelled like this, MARJORIE.DOERING. And of course, like I said, you can find her on her own page on indiebooksource.com. Find all of her books. Find out a little bit about her. On Twitter, you can find her at Marjorie Daring. On Pinterest, she's on pinterest.com/JORIEDO. All right. And for those of you, you all know how to spell Pinterest and .com.
I would hope so.
And then you can find her on LinkedIn, Marjorie-Deering-B112A332. Woo. Okay.
And
Oh, her email. The most important thing, if you want to get one of the free books, MarjorieDeering99@gmail.com.
Yes, please use that one. I go to the email all the time.
MarjorieDeering99@gmail.com. And Marjorie prefers that is the way that you get in touch with her, because she actually keeps up with that more
There
than
you
the
go.
other
I do.
places.
Yes.
There you
So
go.
I'll be sure to see. Right.
Great. Okay. We have one more comment ready. Oh, Jenny says, hi, Jonah.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny. Good to see you here, really.
And I was going to tell you before I lose my train of thought, like I said, but I started writing early, but it wasn't until I was like 40 years old that something clicked. And that was, I have a terrible habit and I haven't been able to break it all my life. I'm still trying, but I cannot write the story down and then edit when it's through. I write a paragraph, I go back and go, that's not the right word. That's not the right phrase. I can do this better. And it's a terrible thing to do, but I cannot shake it. So when I used to write on a typewriter or whatever, I would have so many strike throughs or whiteouts or whatever that by the time I finished the page, I couldn't read what I wrote. My husband was in computers all his life. That was his career. And one day we were doing some errands and he said, I have to stop at work for a while. And he said, here, sit down at a computer and just monkey around while you're waiting for me. Well, it scared me to death. He said, don't worry, you're not going to erase any data or anything. He said, just, monkey around with that. And I discovered what a clean copy looked like.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Amazing. I mean, to me, that was such a revelation. It was like, oh my gosh. So he got me a computer and things started picking up.
You say you basically go along and do your editing at the same time, so you don't have an overwhelming task at the end, right?
Well, it's still pretty overwhelming.
It is. You still have to go back and look at it.
Right. But at least I can see what I wrote.
George says, I use the same method, don't apologize. And I was going to tell you, we use the same method.
Do you?
We constantly edit, as we're writing the book. And then we go back and edit afterwards again. Let's see. Susan says, amazingly, I can win Nano, but still have to go back and edit while I dropped. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It just seems like it takes so much longer, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would just get it down on paper.
Oh, yes, it does take
the right way first time, right? Yeah, that'd be nice.
Sure does. Yeah. But then things started falling into place after that, though. It was really weird. I mean, I started being able to write because I had the clean copy.
Yes.
And it made a world of difference.
Sure.
And then things really started picking up when my husband retired and we moved farther up north.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I joined a site called Fan Story, and I think it's still out there. And I would recommend it to beginning writers because it's really helpful. It's FANSTORY. And like I say, I think it's still in service. But it's mostly beginning writers, and you get critiques from one another, from things that you submit. They do contests. It's just a good site. People should check it out. So I started doing that, which was good. Then my husband saw an article in a local newspaper for a short story competition in Spooner, Wisconsin, which was like 30 miles away. And I went to that. And that's where I met Marla Madison, who belonged to a writing group, a critique group. And through her, I ended up joining. And that was fantastic. I would recommend that to beginning writers too. Well, not even beginning writers. Writing groups are wonderful. they're so supportive of one another, and you get the critiques, and it keeps you writing, because every week we had to submit so many words for the meeting the next week. It was wonderful. Then, and like I say, it was like everything was falling into place. It was shortly after that I saw an ad in the paper for, it was a production company called Dark Knight Productions.
Oh, yeah.
And they were looking for one-act plays for a competition. And they wanted one-act plays done in the style of Rod Serling. And I always enjoyed his programs. So I decided, what the heck, I'm going to do it. And the top 3 winners were going to have their play actually produced one night by the production company in Chicago. And I was one of 3 top finishers.
Oh, that's so
That
cool.
was exciting. That was such fun. The people only had a day, the actors only had a day to learn the lines and actually go through the rehearsals. And then that evening they held that for an audience. It was such fun.
Oh, for sure.
I enjoyed it so much. And after that, I started writing Deer Crossing.
Awesome.
Pretty
So it was
cool.
just like boom, 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 boom. But it took a long time for me to get, for the stone to start rolling down the hill for me.
Right. Right.
There you go.
But I think probably as you've spoken with other authors, you find out everybody has pretty similar thing. Nobody
Bumpy roads.
Yeah, bumpy roads.
Lots
it
of
takes
delays.
a while. Yeah. The
But
first
I'm like the
stories
Grandma
I wrote,
Moses. I feel like Grandma Moses writing or something.
well, yeah, so are we. I started writing in hand. I wrote by hand. Wrote on
Wow. Yeah.
like this.
Yeah. A lot of people don't do this anymore, but I do.
Yeah. Well, whatever works for you.
This is a pencil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, we don't do that anymore.
It
We
has
do
an
on the
eraser
computer.
on it. Yeah, well, you don't write our books that way, but
No, but I do think we have some manuscripts that were handwritten.
yeah.
Wow.
We still have them from long ago.
Well, at least that way you can do that any place you are. If you're on a
Right.
bus or at a restaurant, if you have an idea, at least you can do it right there.
Lots of pieces of scrap paper, piles of scrap paper with paragraphs on them,
Napkins.
Right.
So then we have, oops, did the wrong thing. I wanted to show that, not hide it. Why
Oops.
is that not coming up?
I don't know.
Well,
There it
there. Whew, that would not come up.
I could see it.
Oh, could you?
I
Well,
could.
maybe we were the only ones that could. Oh, James says he used fountain pens. He must not have made any mistakes.
You could always try quills.
There you go. So Remains. Want to give us a little background on Remains, what it's about?
Okay, in this case, Ray is called to a case where it's obvious somebody has been killed by the amount of blood that's left behind. Unfortunately, they cannot find the body, and they can't therefore say for sure who it was that died in this home. Eventually, it ends up where they have a publicity-seeking psychic who shows up and volunteers to, I can help you. And the story goes from there. Ray is not one who looks kindly upon, he doesn't believe in psychics, right? But he's more or less forced to use her. And there are some very interesting developments along the way, all the way until the end. It turns into, just one thing after another, and it'll be quite a surprise to the reader.
Well, that sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
And makes me realize I won't ask the question I was going to ask.
You have me curious.
Well, you don't have to answer it. Okay, if it's going to be a spoiler alert. But what I wanted to know, is the psychic a true psychic, or is she a fake?
Okay, yeah. No, I'm not going to answer that. I will let the readers figure that out.
I knew it. As soon as you said that, I was like, no, that's not a good question. Susan Kite says, one of my novels was written in a notebook while I was exercising on a recumbent bike at the YMCA while trying to ignore Fox News.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, good luck. Well, I guess that was really, though, a push to get that done, right?
Yeah,
Well, I
right?
guess.
Great incentive. Let me write a
Get awfully
different
tired.
book. And
Well, it's terrific to be able to write, you know, as the ideas are coming to you.
oh, yeah, absolutely, right? Sometimes you really need to write it down or it's going to be gone.
You do. A lot of times I get good ideas in the middle of the night, and I think I'll remember this in the morning.
Mm-mm.
No.
No,
Nothing.
no, you never do. Okay, we did Remains. Do we do One Way Out?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay,
But there
Way
is
Out.
one way out. Right there.
Oh, that's a really cool cover too.
I like that one too, yes.
Yeah.
I like them all. I had the same cover artist for all 7 of my books,
Yeah.
and her name is Tanja Propkop, and she is from Croatia, and she's just wonderful to work with. Just great.
That's a really nice.
Does she have a website that you know what it is?
I can look it up right here.
Well, while you're doing that, George
Mhm.
said, I tried writing by hand, but then I couldn't read what I had written.
There you go.
That's my problem, George. That's why I write all of my grocery lists on my telephone. I don't
Yeah.
write it on pen and paper.
I have Tanya's website right here. It's Tanja, Tanja, at bookcoverworld.com.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
that's real easy.
Very good.
But yeah,
Yeah. Good
anybody
little
who's
shout out.
looking for a good cover artist, I recommend her.
Yeah, I like
There you
the
go.
face on this one. It's really interesting. Really draws you in. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. That is the one book in the series that I kind of went rogue. It's not really a police procedural at all. There is a murder mentioned in the story, but that's not what this book is about. He's not trying to solve that one. He and 2 friends are on an extended weekend to do some fishing. He finally has some time off. It's Labor Day weekend. He's off with these 2 friends in a very wilderness type area. It's just woods all around with loads and loads of undergrowth and so forth. And his friend has bought this one patch of land, you know, right next to a lake or a river. And he's got it partially cleared. So they take this camper and they go there. And on the way, they have a chance encounter with this strange couple. And it turns into a fight for survival.
Oh,
Ray and his friends have to find their way out of this predicament that they're in. And it gets pretty darn tense. And it was one of the books. I love all my books, but this was the one I had most fun writing.
so
And
is this Ray on the cover? Excuse me for interrupting, but is that is supposed to be him?
that's supposed to be Ray. Yes, he's
That's
running
good.
from these people. He's
All
trying
right,
to help
got
his
it.
friends and himself out of this jam. Yeah, it's in one of my promotional pictures that I did for advertising on Facebook. I think I wrote, an animal is at its most dangerous when it's wounded. The same may be true of Ray Schiller.
Uh-huh.
And I like that because this is basically the whole premise of the book. You know, he's injured and he's on his best game. You know, he's going to get them out.
Okay, that sounds really, really good. That's kind of nice to take him out of his normal setting and put him in another
Right,
setting.
right.
That
Mhm.
was a
I
good
enjoyed
idea.
doing that. Boy, I put Ray through a lot.
Poor guy.
Yeah, really.
And we are talking about him like he's real because he's real to you, I'm sure.
Well, I'll tell you something. I did something strange in the final book, which we haven't mentioned yet, Collision
Here it
Course.
comes.
I
Collision Course.
actually, in my acknowledgement is written to Ray.
Aha.
Wow.
Good for
And
you.
I acknowledge he's not real, but boy, in my own mind, you know, he is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think for most authors that our characters are very real. We know who they are. We know how they think. We created them, so they're kind of
Yeah.
like our children. You know.
Well, I've lived with Ray in my head for probably 7, 8, 9 years already. You know, he and his wife Gail and his kids and his
Yeah.
partner. And yes, I'm going to miss him terribly. I'm telling you, I'm really going to miss him. This was the finale. Collision Course was the finale.
Oh,
So I'm on to something else. I'm going to begin something else soon. In Collision Course, the story behind that is Ray doesn't know it, but he has an enemy that was told a lie 10 years earlier, and the hatred has just grown and grown and grown. And Ray doesn't know this enemy even exists. And when he is sent to do an investigation into the Libby Bates case, they cross paths. And the consequences of that are pretty startling.
that's
And
the
that's what that
collision.
book is about.
Wow.
That
So it's
sounds
about the
sounds
murder
good.
investigation, and it's also about his relationship, with this other business with this secret enemy, let's call him. And I don't want to say who.
No, we don't want any spoilers. Well, let me just go through all of these books again. I'm not sure we actually talked about the title so much. I'm not sure we mentioned what Deer Crossing is about. Do you want to talk?
Well, I'll tell you what. In Deer Crossing, besides the spelling thing, I was afraid that with the axe, it's my favorite cover of all. But the axe, I think, gives people the impression that it's a bloody, gory story, and it's really not. It really isn't. But it's so appropriate to the story that I left the axe on there. I had Tanya leave that.
Okay.
And the other thing about that story, now remember, this is the first one I wrote, and I thought it might be a mistake, but I took a chance, and I introduced Ray from the bottom of a very deep hole that I had dug for him. Yeah, he doesn't come out with a big S emblazoned on his chest. He is angry. He is bitter. He's got a chip on his shoulder about the size of a construction block. It's not how you would normally introduce your protagonist.
Yeah, the hero.
And yeah, but on the other hand, I decided I better trust my readers to read on and, see what the problem is, because gradually you begin to understand, okay. And Ray is getting better. He's working his way out of it. And before very long, you've got the reader pulling for Ray. They understand he really is a good guy, and they understand what he's going through. And it's not your typical, he's an alcoholic or something like this,
It's
so anyhow,
something else.
people have been very good. They end up pulling for Ray very hard.
Yeah.
Good.
That's great.
So George says, every author I have watched here or spoken with says the same thing. Their characters take on a life of their own, and the same as with my characters, his characters. And that's the truth.
It is.
I mean, they won't do things that you want them to do if it's not right for them to do it, if it's not within their character. It's the craziest thing. I know I feel crazy saying that, but sometimes you'll try to get them to do something and it's like,
now if we could just get them to write the book for us,
that would be good. That would.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, it's funny because
at least
yes,
edit it,
yes, that would be a help. I know that there are times when I look back at an older book, one of my first books, and I do a little reading just to see what I did, just to remind myself, and I go, how did I come up with this? Where did this idea come from? I wonder how I did that. And I think it's because of exactly that. My characters did it. It was my character's idea, not mine, and I went with it. And looking back at it, I go, that's really it.
Yeah.
You mentioned this is like the end of the Collision Course, is the end of that series. You kind of hinted about something you're going to do. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, I'm thinking right now, I don't want to do another police procedural. right now. So I think I'm going to go with something, well, I don't know if you want to call it paranormal, but anyhow, one of the main characters is a precocious 11-year-old girl growing up in Ohio during the mid 20th century. And she has to deal with something living in the woods around her rural home.
Ooh.
Okay.
So
Sounds cool.
that's about as far as I've gotten right now, as far as what I can tell you. My little elevator pitch is very like one floor elevator, but but that's where I think I'm
It's on
headed
the
with
first
that.
floor.
Right.
So yeah, so that sounds good. So it could be, paranormal. It could be a cryptid. We don't know, right?
Right.
So it's a new year and a new road to travel down for you.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
cool.
true.
That's cool.
That sounds exciting. I hope you have fun writing it.
Oh, I think I will.
Yeah, I think you will too. How old did you say she is? 11?
She's
did you
11.
say?
Yeah, one of the main characters, right? She's 11.
Yeah. And she knows it's out there.
Yes. And there will be something of a mystery involved, but like I say, certainly not a police procedural anymore in this one, no.
Right, right. Well, that's good. All
And I
right, so-
must tell you, too, that with my police procedural work, I relied heavily on L. Mueller, who is a former homicide detective in Minnesota, and he is a friend of mine. And he got out of police work, and he has his own photography business now called Muddy Waters Photos, and he is absolutely wonderful, and I owe a lot of thanks to him for all of these books, because he was my go-to man when it was a matter of police procedure. I would ask him, okay, in this situation, is this right? Is that right? And he would keep me on the straight and narrow. So even though I don't have a police background, I had somebody who certainly knew what he was talking about.
But he knew you were an author and writing
Yes.
a book, but you
Oh,
weren't
yes.
planning crime.
Oh, he knew.
Okay, all right, good.
As it turned out, see, this is where I'm saying things fell into place. His wife is somebody my husband worked with on the job.
Uh-huh.
And after I started writing this book, my husband said, well, Pam's husband used to be a detective.
There you go.
And then we got to know each other, and the four of us are friends, and it's just been a wonderful association, and he's terrific.
Was he a homicide detective?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It
That's
was
really-
terrific. Everything fell into place.
That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I often worry when I'm doing research, if anyone's looking, what they're thinking.
what we're doing.
What is the best
browsing
untraceable
history, yeah.
poison?
I was worried for a while.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. A lot of us probably have the government watching us and going, okay, keep an eye on this person. Did you see their browsing history?
Exactly. And Big Brother is watching, so.
Yeah.
But believe me, nobody could watch everything that goes
Oh my gosh.
on always all the time.
Just keywords, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm sure
There's
they
a lot of
flag
those.
keywords.
Right.
I won't say them.
Good. Okay.
I might think them sometimes, but I won't say them.
There you go.
Well, I had an awfully good time writing all these novels with Ray.
Oh, that's good.
Like I say, I'm going to miss him a lot.
Yeah. So it's a little
Well,
bittersweet.
I'm pleased that some of my readers have been making comments about, well, maybe he and Dick Waverly can open up a private detective agency or something, and making comments, we'd like to see him come back, this can't really be the end. Yeah, it is.
There you go.
I think that's
pretty
why
sure.
fan fiction is so important and has a real good niche, is because people don't like to see their favorite characters pass away,
Right.
Look at all the people that write Sherlock Holmes novels nowadays, and people love to read them.
And they miss them when
Right.
they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate it when my favorite writers say that's the end, no more. And you're like,
Mhm.
no.
Come on,
Yeah.
you can do it. Just one more.
But I can also understand, running out of, that
Well, I
this is
just sort of
the
thought I put Ray through enough. I really put Ray through enough. I thought after what I did to him in Collision Course, I thought there's nobody that would stay on the job after that.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
It was one of
good.
those things.
Now, if they
Yeah.
pick you up for a TV series, you're going to have to resurrect him and get him back into
Well,
business again.
I
Right?
don't think that's really too much of a worry for me, but I've
Well, you
always
never know.
decided when I started writing, I never figured, well, I'm doing this because I want to get famous or I want to make a
No.
lot of
Right.
money or anything like this. The
No.
reason I write is to entertain. If I can
Right.
entertain people, it makes me happy. I wouldn't mind getting rich. I wouldn't mind being famous, but that's beside the point. That's
Right.
not really my goal.
Right.
So anyhow, I'm happy just to get reviews or to know people are reading the stories and seem to be enjoying them. And that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of, I mean, with all the streaming services that are all doing their own movies and stuff, there's more and more opportunities, I think, to break into that market.
Yeah. Netflix and Amazon
The right-
especially are just
The
eating
right person
scripts
picks your
up
book up and looks at it,
because they're so prolific in what they produce.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, they're always looking for new
but there
stuff.
are a million books too. So
Yes.
a
There
billion
are.
books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Which is why we do what we do. So people can hear about all of the authors and
So we're kind of
Get to
winding
know them.
down here.
Yep.
Before we go, I'm going to ask you in just one or two sentences, what kind of advice would you give for a new author, somebody who's trying to get started but doesn't know quite which direction to run in?
Well, I guess my advice would be if you want to write, just do it. Sit down and actually do it and make it a habit. Keep it going. And we are so hard on ourselves. Writers are so hard on ourselves that if you have somebody that's throwing up blockades in your way and they're not making comments to support you, ignore it. Just go with your own heart. Keep writing. And like I said, I would really highly recommend getting involved in a writing group if you can, because those are supportive people because they're going through the same thing.
right. Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
George Dismuke says streaming services are desperate for quality products. And I think that that's true. So
Just need to find the channel to get them there.
yeah,
Right.
find a good pitch man to pitch what you've got
Right.
to offer. If that's the way you want to go.
Oh, and you know what? It just occurred to me. I didn't really tell you anything about the story in Deer Crossing.
Okay.
Oh,
Briefly,
real
very
quick here.
briefly. Yes.
Susan Kite says, I love my writer groups. She's
Yes, they
agreeing
are
with what you said
fabulous.
there.
Right. Okay. Ray is in a small town. A woman has been murdered. She is the wife of a very prominent Minneapolis business executive. And like I say, it's not a gory story, but anyhow, Ray ends up traveling to Minneapolis, and this is where he ends up working with his partner through the rest of the series, Dick Waverly. And I know Dick Waverly is a popular character in the series, so thought I'd mention that. But anyhow, it's about the death of this executive's wife in their secluded summer home.
okay.
So I
Sounds
just wanted to get
interesting.
that much in there.
Okay. That's good. That's a dear story.
All right.
Oh,
So George says the signal froze up. I hope it's back on. It hasn't here. So
it's not that cold in Texas, I don't think. But I think he's exaggerating.
No, it is. He wouldn't exaggerate.
Nah.
Anything else you'd like to say before we
Not at this point. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to move her over to the side here.
All
and
right.
Finish up. Thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us.
we
Oh,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me on.
Loved
It's
it.
been really,
Thank
really
you.
good.
I enjoyed it.
And
We
we're going to
did
move
too.
you over. I'll learn how to do this. Here we go. There we go. Got you over there. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
It just jiggled me a little.
Okay. Well, you sit tight where you're at there. Let's see. We do have a couple of things here.
George says it's,
it's 60 degrees, so I don't think
That's
it froze,
nice and
George.
warm.
At any rate, next this Saturday, we already mentioned the episode Rewind. We're rerunning episode 6, 5:30 p.m. Same place you're at right now. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a pre-recorded show, one that we tried running back in December, I think, or maybe, yeah, I think it was early December for Wendy Scott, but but StreamYard had a problem and they've since fixed it. So we only showed like maybe 10 minutes of that before. So we're going to show the entire show. It's really a good show. I think you'll all enjoy it. She's from New Zealand and she's a very good author as well. The 19th, we have Joe Conjol, who's usually in our audience, and he's going to be joining us for that evening. And on the 26th, we're going to have Gennaro Torres Celis on the 26th. And every Saturday, 5:30, episode rewinds. We're just going right down the roster on that. So one other thing I wanted to say here is, if you get a chance, get over to our store. Here's our latest edition, So Little Time, So Many Books. So just go to indiebooksource.com and go to the merch store tab, and you can see what all designs we have there. And they're all reading themed designs.
And author themed.
And authors, writers, writing, reading, and arithmetic. No arithmetic.
Everything to do with books.
Everything to do with books. So some fun stuff, hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, totes, all sorts of stuff. So, okay. So do you have anything else you would like to add?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. Then I think we shall get ready to disappear here. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Until next time.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.